apologies currently from Councillor Beetham and Councillor Downs, I believe. Do we have any other apologies? Councillor?
Apologies for Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. That'll be noted. No other apologies? Thank you very much indeed. Item 3, we have minutes of the previous meetings. We have a minute of the previous meeting of the 21st, the extraordinary meeting, which is on page 6 of your agenda. Are we all happy with that as being the true and accurate record thereof?
Yes.
Okay, in which case I shall sign that off. We then have the minutes of the meeting, the full council meeting as of the same date. The revised copy of the minutes is in the addendum. Are we all happy with that as being true and accurate record thereof? Mr. Mayor? Sorry, yes, Councillor Condon.
Mr. Mayor, I'm more happy with the original version. There's actually a better transcript of what happened. And clearly, we had a question and then we had a supplementary being asked, which you cut off halfway through. But I think the original minutes actually reflect what happened, that Mr. Walmsley was making a point about other people having the whip removed temporarily and then reinstated. And I think the minutes should read as in the paper edition. And I therefore move that as an amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Condicord. Councillor Condicord. At that point, when Mr. Walmsley requested a supplementary question, I allowed him to speak. It was obvious after the first couple of lines it was not a public, it was not a question, it was a statement. So given that, and we're allowed to put in, as per the legal representation, we're allowed to put it as stated in the revised minutes. Brent, thank you.
Just by way of further clarification on that, the Constitution absolutely does not allow for a supplementary statement. It only allows for a supplementary question. And so that the revised draft of the minutes makes that clear, that the supplementary statement in effect should not be made at all. So that is what the revised minutes on there reflecting. The Constitution crystal clear on that, so that's why the revised minutes have been set out.
Yes, Councillor Condon.
Mr. Mayor, I was under the impression that Mr. Walmsley was going to get to a question, and I actually have requested a vote on keeping it in the minutes. So, if the Councillor's right is happy to settle that, can we take a vote on that, please?
Okay. All those in favour of the minutes as standing as in the full agenda we have currently? In favour?
No, I moved an amendment first, so you should take the amendment.
Okay. You wish to make an amendment to the revised minutes?
Yes, to put them back as they were.
Is that not clearly what I just said? In a roundabout way.
Okay.
So, we take a vote on those who wish the original minutes to stand. All those in favour?
Can you record my vote?
Yes, indeed, we will do so. Those against? That is lost. So, can I please have someone to approve the minutes as stated in the revised version? Thank you, Councillor. Someone second, thank you, Councillor Barr. I will sign those off. Thank you. Oh, sorry, we'll vote on that one. Apologies. Thank you. Those in favour of accepting the revised version? And those against? Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Again, that's passed. Thank you. Thank you. Declaration of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest that are not listed on the current schedule? No, we're okay with that one. Thank you very much. Okay. Item number 5, announcements. I have one announcement myself. We have one major fundraising event for my appeal, which is the ABBA Tribute Night, which I'm sure you've seen posted. It is on May the 10th, again at the Windmill. No, it's not Windmill Club, is it? The Pavilion, sorry, the Pavilion Club. So anybody who wishes to join us and can always contact us, and we have tickets. I believe Councillor Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 announcements. Firstly, it is customary at the full council before an election where there are councillors who are standing down to actually record and pay tribute to them and the service that they have given to this council and, more importantly, their residents. So, in no particular order other than that this is the order they were elected in, Mr. Mayor, I will go through the list. There is, of course, Councillor Neil Phillips, who is not standing. He was first elected in the 2006 elections, and he served as mayor between 2011 and 2012. And I know that he did a lot of work for his charity that year and raised a significant amount of money, which everyone on all sides of the chamber, I'm sure, would be pleased that they supported in one way or the other if they were available. And also, he did serve for a number of years as a cabinet member under the previous Labour administration and as deputy leader. Now, I might disagree with what he may or may not have done, but it is still service nonetheless, and knowing how intense the roles are, I certainly pay tribute to the amount of effort and hard work that he put in. We have Councillor Condercourt, who was first elected in 2012, and he is standing down. Then we have Councillor Rob Tromans, first elected in May 2014, and of course was the first Conservative mayor of this administration between 2021 and 2022, and he did a lot to restore, particularly after the COVID hiatus, Mr. Mayor, the fundraising activities of the mayoral team. I know subsequent mayors, Councillors Clark and your good self, have benefited from what he put in train. Then we have Councillor Evans, first elected in 2018. I personally wish that he was staying on because at such a young age he has a lot to give, but I think we know his reasons, which are, in my view, despicable to be anyone to be handed out of office, and is completely unacceptable. But the work he did as a portfolio holder, even in his short space of time, will leave a lasting legacy in Bedworth, that we will have a new physical activity hub, and Councillor Evans very much deserves a large part of the credit for securing that funding, and I hope you'll be proud of that once he has left serving this council. We then have Councillor Mandy Tromans, who was the mayoress for 2021 and 2022, but was first elected in 21, and again with Councillor Rob Tromans a lot to re-establish the mayoralty following the COVID hiatus. And again, I know she really enjoyed both the community aspect of being a councillor, but also the community role of the fundraising that went with that and supporting underprivileged children, adults and the charity sector. Then we have Councillor Brett Beetham and Councillor Brian Hammersley, both elected in May 2021. And then we have Councillor Joy Coventry-Morton and Graham Morton, and Emma Shires, of course, from the latest intake from May 2022. May, whatever you do in your future, I hope you are successful and enjoy whatever role you have lined up. My second announcement, Mr. Mayor, is actually hot off the press. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to give an update on transforming Nuneaton. It will have escaped no one's attention over the past few years that we have seen a massive economic shock, not just in the UK but across the world. We've had the shocks of COVID, Ukraine and the resulting inflation and interest rate rises. Many residents will have seen the cost of living increase and the prices of items are now higher than they were a few years ago. The council and our regeneration programme have been affected just as much as domestic budgets have. This has meant that the budgeted costs of the Transforming Nuneaton projects have increased from the original models of 2018 and 2019. So, as the economic situation changes, we must adapt to it. We took the difficult but necessary decision to pause, and I emphasise pause, some projects and focus on the essential projects Nuneaton needs to see through a real programme of transformation for our town. In February this year, we asked government, through our Pathfinder status, to reallocate funding from projects that are less of a priority to those which are essential. Yesterday, I was delighted to receive confirmation from the Department for Levelling Up that they have agreed to our request and the regeneration funds that we have secured from government can be reallocated to the projects that will make the biggest difference. This means we will be proceeding with Grayson Place Phase 2. Once the hotel is finished, we will start on the cinema, food hall, college campus and refurb of India Red. Officers have already been instructed to get on with the job and already are working with our partners to green-light the projects and sign the contracts as soon as possible. We'll be able to progress a revised bridge to living on Bridge Street, which with the Planning Commission granted last night for a new library and business centre, means that Bridge and Church Street will also be a key part of the plan to transform Nuneaton. And I emphasise the word plan, Mr Mayor, because it is only the Conservatives that have a plan to overturn decades of Labour failure and decline in our town centres and invest for the future. We pledged to crack on with the regeneration of Nuneaton. Promise made, promise kept, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. We move forward to item number 6, public participation. We have 2 questions. Mrs. Condercourt.
Thank you. It is a real loss to Nuneaton that the planned expansion of the museum and art gallery has been halted without any public consultation or even consultation with elected members. With the shrinking of retail in all towns, we need to be encouraging footfall to our towns by other means, and this would have been an excellent opportunity to promote Nuneaton and attract people to come and visit. Whilst I understand that things cannot go ahead if the money is not available, I do not understand why the project expanded to be a 2-wing extension as opposed to the original 1, if it was known that only a finite amount of money was available and seemingly without knowing if this would still be affordable. The plans for the extensions were obviously developed by architects and then went through the planning process. How much money was spent before the programme was abandoned, including all architect fees and planning fees? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Condercourt. Call on the leader.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mrs Condercourt has actually highlighted the central issue in her question itself. The economic climate has changed since the original business cases for transforming Nuneaton projects were approved. We have faced the impacts of COVID, the war in Ukraine, and inflation and interest rate increases. Simply put, it means that the cost of our transformation projects has increased since they were originally costed years ago. That means we must take difficult decisions and reprioritise our projects so that we spend the money we do have wisely. Prioritising Grayson Place, including the cinema, food hall, college and India Red refurb, and Bridge to Living is critical to the regeneration of our town centre. The museum has only been put on hold. All of the work we have done can still be used in the future and we will continue to look at other funding sources for the museum. I can confirm that the total costs have been £145,000 to date. And I want to address head-on, the project wasn't expanded to a 2-wing extension, it was amended. The original plans had a one-sided, 2-storey extension that was completely out of keeping with the design of the museum. It would have been cultural vandalism to proceed with a design that failed to honour and respect the architecture of the main building. Look at the museum head-on. It is clear for all to see that it is designed in a symmetrical design, as is the park itself. A one-sided extension would have destroyed that symmetry, and I would not sign up to something that would ruin the design of the original building. We either do it properly or not at all. I make no apologies for that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
Can I ask a supplementary, please?
If it's relevant, yes.
With all the schemes that were in the town deal fund, why were contingencies not built into that? It seems ludicrous. If you do any work on your house, you would allow for things costing more than you expect. So why was no contingency put in for any of these things? You've been on the board of the town deal since its inception, and you haven't attended a meeting since March 2022. So, you know, you're not keeping your finger on the pulse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In fact, I have sent substitutes to that meeting as it meets during the day. Unlike some people, Mr. Mayor, I'm not a full-time politician. I have a job. A number of people actually have full-time jobs, unlike some, and they have the luxury of being able to be full-time politicians. I cannot live off the salary of a councillor, Mr. Mayor. In fact, no one around here, unless they are retired and have another income, can actually afford that. So, if she wishes to be a full-time politician and not have a full-time job,
I am retired, thank you.
That's your decision. You have the money to do that. Don't go criticising other people who still need to work for a living.
But
you still have something to contribute.
that is why the leader of the council is paid a much bigger allowance than just a councillor, so that you can attend these meetings.
Councillor, Mrs. Wannabe Councillor Convercourt misses the central issue. Even on the leader's salary, you cannot afford to run a full house, all your other day jobs, all your other expenses. She might be able to on her retirement salary, but I'm of the generation that has to work hard for our retirement. Now, in terms of the funding itself for these projects, I remind her that the projects were first put together in 2018-19, as was said, and there were contingency funds in place which were built in 2018-19, but unless she has been in a coma or absent for all these past 5-6 years, anyone who has any sense whatsoever will know that there has been the Ukraine war, the impact of COVID, and the fact that interest rates have increased and the inflation has increased. What we could pay for with, say, £1 back in 2018 now costs us £5–10 now. For example, Mr. Mayor, just on the market. Pre-pandemic, if we needed a new table for the market, the suppliers, we could get it for 25 quid. Now, to get a replacement table, when someone nicks our tables from the market, it costs us 75 quid for a new table. Now, unless she's telling us that you know, the whole world has stopped, and that nothing has gone up since 2018-2019, and that everything is exactly the same, then she should be honest enough to actually face the reality that these things have gone up and we have to act accordingly. Otherwise, we would bankrupt this authority, and that would be the result of a Labour or a Green administration come May if they win.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask this to get referred to a committee, please? The Constitution, it says an MSP can look at it and vote.
You can ask, yes you can, but obviously we'll need a seconder and then we'll go to a vote.
Mr. Mayor, can I request this item on the future of the museum goes to a suitable OSP?
We have a seconder for that motion. All those in favour of the motion? Those against the motion? That motion is lost. Okay, we have a second question. We have a second question from the public. Mr. Ratcliffe. Thank you, Mr. Ratcliffe.
Thank you. May I please ask Councillor Croft what the Section 106 money has been spent on?
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mr. Ratcliffe. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Ratcliffe, for his question. He asked a very high-level question, so I'm afraid I'm going to ask him a very high-level answer. Because over the years, this council has had many hundreds, if not thousands, of developer agreements under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act, concerning many thousands of projects and millions of pounds. So without being more specific in the question, it would be difficult to pull that data together to give a precise answer as to what monies have been spent on, because like I say, there are thousands of projects and budget line items. Given some background, Mr. Mayor, it must be understood that Section 106 money is earmarked for particular purposes, which are identified in the planning documents and developer agreements at the point of application and at the point of approval. There aren't some random pots of money that can just be drawn down on according to demand. That has to be understood in the record. Very often these monies will contain trigger points as part of the development, so they will only be paid over to be spent when certain phases of construction are reached. So the fact that development is happening does not mean that money is immediately available to spend yet. Under the money that NBBC spend, Mr. Mayor, we spend them on parks, open spaces, play equipment, sports facilities, and that sort of thing. That's specifically what it's spent on. But it's not just paid to NBBC, we also pay it over to our partner organisations, the County Council and the NHS to provide services, and that's in addition to the obligations under Section 106 to developers to provide affordable housing, which Councillor Smith will be able to tell you all about. But to give him some high-level figures, over the past decade, we've received £5.5 million of Section 106 money. We've spent just shy of £1 million, 977,000 of that, on our parks and open spaces. For example, the fantastic project we're doing at Bottomley Park at the moment. We've paid over £1.3 million over to the County Council for highways improvements or for educational funding. And we've paid £767,000 to the NHS for things like public health, that sort of work. And one thing, Mr. Mayor, I'm particularly pleased about is that under this administration and the work that's being done under the new borough plan, when Section 106 agreements are drawn up, the monies, we believe, should always be spent in the locality of the development, rather than being transferred to other sections of the borough. This is completely appropriate because we believe that the money should be spent in those areas which are affected by the development. Development can be positive, the development itself can have negative effects, and it's only right for people who suffer those get the monies as a byproduct of that. So we will not see a repeat of the situation under the previous administration and what was referred, I believe, Mr. Mayor, to Labour's third-rate borough plan, where money was earmarked, for example, to be transferred from any future developments in the Arbury ward over to pay for the new Veterans Leisure Centre. So the people of Arbury will not see improvements in their neighbourhood should that eventuate. So that's a very high-level answer, but I'm afraid it's a very high-level question, and I'll do the best I can with it.
May I please ask a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Croft. You may, as long as it's relevant to the question you first asked.
Thank you very much, Councillor Croft. May I please ask for a specific example of Ingali Common, given the developments of Campo have now finished most of their stages, if not in their entirety? Is there any examples you can name Ingali Common at all?
Thank you, Mr. Active. Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. He talks about Camp Hill and Galley Common. There's an awful lot to be spent in Galley Common, and I have some figures here. We've spent £67,000 on parks and play and open space area in the Galley Common ward, and £74,000 on broader sort of path and park improvements. You'll find that some of the money, for example, through the County Council, is paid to keeping one of the bus services. I remember it's the 18 or 19 that goes to the village, but without that you'd have an hourly bus service rather than a half-hourly bus service. And Mr. Mayor, I do just want to give a bit of background, since it's been raised in Galley Common, that over the past 6-7 years, there have been approximately 1,000 extra houses going on that route between Ansley Island and the Old Chase Pub in Galley Common. That is a very good example of what happens when you leave the Labour Party in charge of planning in this borough. Because what you will see on the agenda later tonight, we are very near the closing stages of a new borough plan. It will be a first-in-class borough plan with appropriate infrastructure, proper consultation of the residents, and proper planning to get the right houses in the right places. And what Galley Common has, unfortunately, because it was approved 2017-2016, is a very good example of planning without appropriate infrastructure being put in at the time of development under the Labour Party, and without appropriate challenge made to inappropriate and badly designed estates. At this very moment, again, Councillor Smith, who is the planning guru, will be able to tell you, we are paying for and we are taking several inappropriate and poorly designed from a highways and from a localities perspective developments through the planning inspectorate to defend ourselves against appeals against our refusing those planning applications. Now, the previous administration did not do that. So the people of Galley Common had to suffer the effects of inappropriate and overdevelopment. So if the Labour Party and if Labour Party candidates wish to go around Galley Common talking about development and the Labour Party's record on development, then they can be my guest.
Thank you, Councillor Croft. We move forward to item number 7, questions by members. Councillor Baxter Payne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Wilson, many residents remember the legacy of failure that we inherited when we took control of this council in 2021. They lived for 45 years. Could the leader of the council please give us a rundown of what the Conservatives have achieved for the people of Nuneaton and Bedworth over the past 3 years?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilson.
I thank Councillor Baxter Payne for his question, as it gives me the opportunity to remind residents what is at stake at the election on the 2nd of May. In 2021, we inherited a council that was a financial basket case, top-heavy with senior managers, lacking clear direction and business sense, and it was the residents of this borough who suffered for Labour's clear ineptitude. So, Mr Mayor, what have we achieved? We said we would kick-start the regeneration of Nuneaton Town Centre, and what have we done? We have a hotel almost built to completion that we already have local businesses wanting to use for their travelling visitors and support regional events. And as I outlined earlier in announcements, we have secured the funding to proceed with the cinema, food hall, college campus, India Red and Bridge to Live In. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would support our markets. We have frozen the market rents in Nuneaton, introduced an outdoor market in Bedworth, and Bedworth Indoor Market is getting £700,000 worth of investment. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would cut car parking charges. Under Labour, it costs £2.80 to park for 3 hours. Under the Conservatives, it is £1.50 for 3 hours. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would review Labour's unfair borough plan. We began an immediate review, halved the housing, refused over 1,800 unneeded houses that we are now defending at appeal, and submitted our revised plan, all within 3 years. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would spend Section 106 money in the areas that have taken development. Buttermere Park is well underway to completion, being the first fully accessible park in the borough, and use Section 106 money to fund new play equipment in Exhall, Bulkington, Stockingford Rec and Montana Walk. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would stand up against illegal gypsy and traveller encampments. We have defended our injunction all the way through the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, and we have a policy in place that cuts the need for traveller pitches, which defends against illegal and unwanted encampments in our borough for the first time ever. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would invest in local play areas so that local residents have good quality facilities for local families. We have completely replaced Buttermere Park. Sherborne Park is half complete. New equipment in Riversley Park and the Miners Park, Montana Park, Montana Walk Park, Stockingford Rec, Bulkington Rec, Exhall, and new replacement parks planned for Attleborough Rec, Sorrel Road Rec and Marlborough Road Rec. This is the single biggest programme of works in our parks in the past 30 years. Promise made, promise kept. We said we would cut waste, focus on delivery of services and get value for money. We have cut the Mayor's car and chauffeur, sold Labour's climbing tower, cut the number of managers at the Town Hall, brought in mixed recycling and responded to Coventry Labour's bin strike, which saw little impact on local services. Promise made and promise kept again, Mr Mayor. I could go on, but I think everyone gets the picture. It is only with the Conservatives at the helm of Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council that we are turning this ship around and putting it on a course for success. If we put Labour back at the wheel of the ship, they will soon sink it. Nuneaton and Bedworth cannot afford to go back to Labour. Mr Mayor, if residents want to continue with a Conservative council that will back the law-abiding, hard-working citizen, they need to vote Conservative on the 2nd of May.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could the leader bring us up to date with the 700,000 fully refurbishment of the Bedworth Indoor Market?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Singh, for your question. Bedworth Indoor Market has been allocated £716,000 for renovation and upgrade works from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. The fund totals £4 million, but the allocation of £716,000 is the single largest project that we have undertaken as part of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. We have recently conducted a pre-market engagement exercise that will help guide the full tender process, which we expect to launch in the late spring. We said we would support Bedworth Market. Promise made, promise kept, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Rob Troman speaks.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 10 years ago, as a newly elected councillor, the first question I asked in this chamber related to the possibility of bringing forward a business improvement district, a BID. Whilst the controlling Labour group at the time showed little interest in supporting town centre businesses with such an initiative, I was pleased that following the Conservative group taking control, the opportunity has now been progressed. Can the leader please update the council on the latest developments to bring forward the bid for Nuneaton Town Centre?
Thank you, Councillor Troman. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can't tell you how pleased I am that we are finally progressing a business improvement district for Nuneaton. It is something Councillor Tromans and I long called for in opposition and pledged to support when we took control of the council in 2021. I can confirm that there was a formal postal ballot of all town centre businesses within the defined area in February-March of this year. The results were overwhelmingly in favour of the bid. 86% of those voting and 89% by rateable value. I myself exercised the council's votes over the properties we own in the area to support the bid. The bid has been led by local Nuneaton businesses and business owners, and I commend their hard work and efforts to get it this far. They will charge an additional levy on the business rates to support additional projects within the Nuneaton Town Centre that I hope will be attractive and draw even more people to our wonderful town. There are approximately 350 local businesses involved in the bid, and it will unlock up to £1 million of additional investment in the Nuneaton Town Centre over the next 5 years, and will place local businesses in direct control of the bid and an active partner with us as the local council. I, for one, and I'm sure I can say all members on this side of the chamber, am excited at the potential this brings for Nuneaton Town Centre. We pledge to support a business improvement district for Nuneaton. Again, promise made and promise kept.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to ask my fellow ward councillor, Councillor Claire Golby, what she feels are the greatest successes that the Housing and Communities team have achieved during her time as portfolio holder.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Golby.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Councillor Green, because it's often forgot that we're not just ward councillors in the Cabinet. We are actually running a multi-million-pound organisation in what is effectively, as has been highlighted, our spare time, and we're doing quite a good job of it. So I would like to move on to some of the things that we've done under my leadership, under the for housing communities. And I'd be happy to highlight some of the most significant successes that we've had. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list, but it is a long one, so bear with. So firstly, I need to extend my appreciation as well to the teams, because without the really hard work that the teams have put in, and the gusto that they've gone to with sorting out the changes and dealing with everything that's come down the line with legislation and everything else, this wouldn't have happened. The team is fantastic, and also the partners that we work with as well. Without them, this wouldn't have been a possibility. So we started in 2021 with our strategic restructuring of the council, and my team were no exception, by transitioning towards specialised roles, including antisocial behaviour officers and tenancy management officers. We've significantly enhanced our capacity to address complex issues and improve the welfare of our residents, with much better outcomes for both the residents and council. But it's not just about restructuring, it's about implementing policies that serve the needs of our communities and protects this council. And I've said before, I was absolutely gobsmacked at the lack of some of the policies that we didn't have. because policies do protect this council as well as our residents. So we've introduced policies such as the new downsizing policies, the new decamp policies to move people out of their properties should they need to. We've introduced policies for support for vulnerable persons and victims of domestic abuse. And this reflects the Conservative leadership's dedication to creating a safe and inclusive environment for everybody. Since day one, I was adamant, and again, I've never made any not being shy about saying this, I was adamant we should be relentless in our efforts to combat antisocial behaviour. In our borough, I think it's an absolute scourge and it really affects people in their own homes. So through targeted enforcement measures and proactive community engagement initiatives, we've made massive improvements in the last 3 years. Absolutely massive. Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council are now the 5th highest ranking council for ASB related evictions in our housing stock in the UK. And also the 5th highest based on the number of evictions compared to the number of incidents. When we consider ourselves against some of the really big hitters like Birmingham, that isn't bad for a little council like ours. So it proves that we're actually doing the right thing. And I know it's been said before, but we don't evict vulnerable people. They get all the assistance that they require. In 2023 alone, the team have opened and closed or investigated 438 cases of ASB reported and closed 353. The team have also had a tenant convicted for breach of a civil injunction, which resulted in a 3-month prison sentence. So again, they're taking things very seriously and they are taking things much further than they were ever allowed to do before under the previous administration. In addition to the management of ASB cases, we've been taking enforcement action. The team have also been busy target hardening areas where antisocial behaviour was prolific and persistent, which again wasn't done under the previous Labour leadership at the Town Hall. So not only did we bring back CCTV, 24/7 CCTV in our town centres, something that was removed by Labour when they were last in control at the Town Hall, but we've installed CCTV in multiple locations within our housing stock. So for example, Buckingham Court, Stonley Court, Lexington Court, something else that wasn't done under Labour. We've installed new security gates in and around some of the areas that we've got high ASB, antisocial behaviour issues with. So residents are now more secure, again, something that wasn't done under Labour. And we've introduced regular tenant engagement forums for residents to speak directly to us about their issues, which we can then take action on. Because if we know it's happening, we aren't going to let it rest. So we've embraced new technology. We've introduced the Noise app, which offers a simple user experience for people reporting noise issues. It's a more streamlined investigation tool for our officers, saves time, saves issues for the residents. And since 2023-2024, when we introduced the app, we've seen over 660 reports of noise associated to antisocial behaviour and 600 reports of other types of noise, which were reported to us as separate incidents. We've worked closely with the states and the environmental enforcement officers to tackle fly tipping, and we do have some persistent areas of fly tipping that are unfortunately the residents are fly tipping in their own areas, which is slightly ridiculous, but we will get to the bottom of that, and they do risk their tenancies. So again, you will be taking down the appropriate channels. Under my tenure, we've introduced block inspections to enhance tenant engagement, and we've reintroduced the estate walkabouts. We've introduced inspections across all our council's mobile home sites, and there's also been an upskilling of the team to be able to take cases to court themselves, so we're not relying on external counsel as much, saving money for the council, and also providing a skills service for the team. That's the tenant in the mayor's charity ledger. So as far as wider tenant engagement goes, we've got Standavan, which is a mobile tenancy engagement unit. It's just being liveried up at the moment. And Standavan will be ready to roll quite soon. You can't miss him because he's bright blue. So we're going to be rolling out. So instead of relying on residents coming to us, we're actively going out to our tenants. That wasn't something that was done wholesale before. We've done the new Council's in-house magazine, which goes out to our tenants again. There's been 3 publications of that. In private sector housing, we've distributed over £1.5 million worth of energy efficiency grants since February in 2021. And that to date has improved 159 Nuneaton and Bedworth properties. So we've had a great success as well with our Rough Sleeper initiative. Again, something that's really important to me is tackling homelessness. So thanks to government funding, we secured £800,000 for 3 years, allowing us to provide 24/7 supported accommodation for rough sleepers. Year 2 saw the introduction of the Housing First model, resulting in successful housing placements and ongoing support, plus our rough sleeping partners meetings back on. Again, something that's done under me, and we offer wraparound support for those at risk. We also take a preventative approach on homelessness because prevention is obviously better than cure. And we've introduced a new homelessness prevention service where early intervention has helped a significant number of residents, and we've actually prevented people coming into our system having to go through the homelessness process. We stopped that before it even started. Again, it's all a benefit to the resident and to the taxpayer because it costs us money having to go through the system. We've opened the new homeless hostel, which is named St Benedict's House, or some people know it's Church Road, but it is St Ben's. And we've done that with the view of putting pets in there as well, because we have to pay to board people's pets. Again, simple change. We've got something now where it saves the cost to the taxpayer if we've got families and households, because we do have families and households where they need support. They can bring their pets too, because for some people, their pets are an absolute lifeline. We shouldn't ever forget that. So that saves money on boarding costs. We've commenced refurbishment of the existing homeless hostel with Gables. We've had a conversion of the general fund offices in Bedworth to create 3 self-contained flats for use as temporary accommodation. The choice-based letting service is absolutely booming, with 364 void properties and 209 registered provider void property allocations from April 2023 to March 2024. And under my leadership, we've had the lowest number of voids, which is basically council properties that are stood empty. We've had the lowest number of voids ever in council history. With the recent launch of our downsizing policy and our fixed-term tenancies policies, which I just have no idea why these weren't addressed sooner, we're ensuring that there's the best use of our housing stock. We do need throughput in our housing stock to keep people, for the stock to be available. We do have, in some instances, people who have had family homes who are now single people living in 3-bed houses. That's not right. That's not right for the people we've got who are in temporary accommodation that need family properties. So there's a whole piece of work going on there. The HEART team, which deals with the adaptations to allow people to stay in their homes for longer with additional needs and disabilities. We manage this for the whole of Warwickshire. We've implemented a new IT system in 2023-2024 to manage HEART. We've got 2,641 social care equipment pieces provided since 2021, and £11.6 million worth of grants have been completed, servicing 11,000 new cases that have been registered since 2021. So there's a whole lot of work going on there. So my communities team, who are probably the most visible to the general public, with no project more visible than when we had the Knife Angel in town. And I've already spoken a lot of times about the Knife Angel, but it was an absolute fantastic success. And the best example of collaborative working that this council has ever done, I believe. We reached over 1,400 secondary school pupils, 1,600 primary school pupils, and we educated them at the dangers of knife crime and violence. My team directly had 2,500 people visit their communities market store. They distributed 985 community safety packs. We bought 10 bleed kits, and we upgraded the defibrillators throughout the borough with those bleed kits. And aside from this, we've increased the number of our Nomad cameras from 17 to 24, and all are now equipped with the latest multi-lens technology. So I admit, ISB remains a challenge. We all know that. I'm not daft. But these expansions serve as a powerful deterrent to support the communities. We're building stronger partnerships with pilot projects, partnering with Refuge, the domestic abuse charity, to enhance our support for victims of domestic abuse by seamlessly integrating refuge officers with our NBBC officers. So they are on site. That means it's a streamlined service for victims, it's ensuring efficiency and a laser focus on what they actually need, because domestic abuse, again, is an absolute scourge on our communities. I've nearly finished. We're also investing in community safety, thanks to UK SPF money from government. Over £60,000 has been injected into various community safety projects. We've empowered local youth groups with additional activities to target interventions in schools. We're tackling crimes and ASB head-on. Within our Nuneaton and Bedworth Community Safety Partnership partners, my leadership is driving efficiency and impact, ensuring maximum utilisation of funding from the Home Office and the PCC's office. We've also continued our support for the Armed Forces Covenant, and our commitment to the Armed Forces is unwavering. I'm immensely proud of the progress we've made in such a short time. And I can't, again, under any circumstances, I can't detract from the work that the teams have done, because they've been fantastic. So under my leadership, our achievements stand as a testament to the power of collaboration, innovation, and above all, our unwavering commitment to service the needs of our communities, which often goes unseen by the wider borough. A shining example of this is Cleaver Gardens. We've actually sorted out Cleaver Gardens. The agreement has been signed with the County Council, and we are now in procurement to get the job done. That's years of outstanding work. So finally, I want to thank everybody, all the staff, all our partners, everybody that's been involved in the hard work that we've done. We really do appreciate it on this side of the chamber. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Condon. Moving forward, Councillor Condon.